KILR KILR game.
Hello gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the KILR Gamer and welcome back to the Chicago tour featuring Microsoft Flight Simulator numero uno, number 1. And we have the graphics working just as they should be. So this is a re-recording of an earlier video that I had done. Now that video will be linked in the description and it will be archived on the site, so it's not going to be underneath the Chicago Tour playlist, but it will be under the Flight Simulator playlist, so I'm just going to put it there. So if you would like to see those for reference, and it's not bad to look at. Well, no, it is bad to look at because the graphics are really bad. Because the lines are going all over the place. It's really bad. But if you want to watch it, and also my commentary and stuff, then that's there, and that way you can compare what that looks like with PC Emulator versus what I'm using here, which is PCE, which does exactly what it's supposed to do. The graphics are just exactly what the way they're supposed to look like. So it's when I discovered that, and I discovered it on my own, I was excited. I was really excited because now I can go back to this series and do all the other flights that I was planning on doing. I wanted to give this series for Flight Simulator 1 justice, fair justice, and it just didn't look good with the 2 videos that I did, and so I was not quite motivated to want to do anymore because of how it looked. But I'm glad I found something that works. Now you guys and girls can enjoy the fruits of my labor. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about where we're going to be flying, which isn't much. There's not many places that we can fly, but here is the original Flight Simulator map. We're here at Chicago O'Hare, and we're going to do the same flight that we did in the original video. Also, basically what we're doing is we're going to be following the same flight plan that we did on the other simulators. This just doesn't have the airports. So before we had flown to the DuPage airport, and then Aurora, then Clow, then Lansing, and then Midway. What we're going to do on this one is we're going to fly to the DuPage VOR, and then we're going to be flying to Joliet, and then we're going to fly to Chicago Heights, and then we're going to land right here at Chicago Midway. So that is what we're going to do. So it'll be a little bit of a flight, and we'll have some fun with it. So take a look at the airspeed indicator. You see, it's not, we're stopped, but it's not sitting at 0, it's sitting at 40. So I think that was a little bit of a glitch they needed to fix. All right, DuPage is 108.4. So let's go ahead and change that. 108.4. In case you're wondering what the keyboard controls are, it's N for the nav, and then you've got to hit NN twice in order to do the decimals. So it was 4. There we go. 108.4, and you can see that the VOR there is tuned in. And let's see, Chicago here, ATIS is 135.15. That's C for COM. And again, you know, C and then CC. See? See? I see what I mean? 135.15. 135.15. There. Oh! O'Hare International Airport. Information, Bravo. 1700 Zulu weather. Visibility 10. Temperature 64. Wind 0 at 0. I'm not going to try to fly this with wind. Landing departing runway 4. Advise controller on initial contact. You have Bravo. Alrighty. Runway 4. Now we got to figure out where runway 4 is at. Let's take a look at the overhead map here. Okay, I believe... I'm not sure which one is 4. Oh, I think I see it. I think it's the one that's all the way over to the right. I think that's runway 4 right there. If it isn't, we're going to take off from it anyway. Just because. Alright, so we're going to start adding some throttle. Now, a lot of times you're just going to have to taxi this way because trying to see the lines as flat as they are is really difficult. So don't be afraid to taxi with the map. The map is about as sophisticated as we get to a GPS moving map type of thing. So it looks like we got carb heat, we got mags, we got lights. They're over there on the right side. It's funny, the mags say they're off. Well, that's because in the actual settings, the reality mode is not on. But don't let that fool you because you can still crash. Okay, so if I pull out here, yeah. So we'll just follow that. And now we can go back. So you can see here, the contrast between the green and the white's a little difficult to see. So that's why it's okay if you use the map to taxi, be able to see where you're going. B. Crockett. Hey, bud, how are you doing? Turn and bank works on the ground. Yeah. That's probably because my auto coordination is off. Or on. Yeah, I turned the auto coordination on because I can't find the other rudder on the keyboard. So, like, 0 will move it to the left, but the enter key does not move it to the right. I am not sure where that is. So probably best to have that off. or have the auto coordination on. I keep wanting to use the 3 and the 9 key for my throttle, but that's not how it works on Flight Simulator 1 or 2. You've got to use the function keys. Yeah, good times. Yeah, I thought it was the period key too, but see, I'm pressing the period key. Do you see it's not moving? There are some simulators where, yeah, the period key does move it. It doesn't on this one. I have the Microsoft Flight Simulator 1 manual, so we'll go through the manual because we'll have a little bit of a flight ahead of us. With lots of green scenery. It'll be the most detailed scenery you have ever seen in a flight simulator. Now the period on the regular keyboard is the brakes, just in case anyone's wondering. Alright, let's see where we're at here. Oh, what is that? Is that the... I love how the 22 is like off. It's not even on the runway. Do you see that? It was like that on Flight Simulator 2 also. Ah, okay. We're heading to the middle of the runway. So let's turn around here. So it's possible that... No. It... Okay, so... Boy, that 22 is really out of place. That 22 should be like... all the way down there. See, I don't know if I'm heading onto the... See, for all I know, this could be the runway right here, but I don't think it is. I think this is the taxiway. This thing here on the left here, when I can get up to it. See, I'm sorry, the right. Yeah, because it's thinner. I think the actual runway is the one that's all the way to the left. You know, the crazy thing is I was able to get this to work in color as well. So not only do I have it working the way it should, as far as the lines not going all over the place. JR Coyotes! Hey, thank you for joining the killer community and following. You are killer awesome. Really appreciate that. And if you enjoy these old sims, then you will definitely... I definitely do stream these, as well as later ones. But I also have a whole bunch of videos over on my YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, I have 2 Flight Simulator 1 videos that do not look very good, because it was using PC emulator, and the lines, all these white lines and everything, they go all over the place. It looks absolutely horrid. And I think there may be a couple of videos on YouTube that people have done, and they look the same way. This here is running on PCE, not PCEM, but PCE. And I didn't actually. I was trying to find something for Flight Simulator 2 to work. It's a long story. But I decided to try Flight Simulator 1, and lo and behold, I discovered that the graphics look the way they're supposed to, and I got excited. I'm like, oh yes, 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 yes. I have been wanting to give the old simulator the justice that it deserves. I think the first Flight Simulator ones that I did were about a year ago, I think. And so it was before the announcement of Flight Simulator 2020. So now with that coming out, it's even more, the timing of this couldn't have been better. Because now people will be able to see exactly where this all started. Alright, well, let's see. Let's throttle down here. So we're at a heading of 043. Well, 045 actually. So yeah, I would say this is runway 4. I think we're good there. Let's go ahead and adjust the OBS, OBI. I've seen it called both. We do that by pressing the V key and then minus and plus. So we're just going to change this until that needle centers there. Okay, so 260. See, you're looking at a big screen. I am looking at a very tiny window. I enlarged it for your guys' benefit so that way you could see it. I'm having to like get close to the screen and squint and all right. It is time for us to go. It almost looks like we're not moving. But we are. Look at the airspeed indicator. Whoa, we might stall here if I'm not careful. Oh, geez, the flaps. That might be part of the problem. I forgot those were partly down. There we go. Well, we do want takeoff flaps, but they were down a little too much. We are up in the air! Woohoo! Landing gear up. That's G. G for Gee Whiz. Gee Whiz, we're flying in Flight Simulator 1. So there we go. We're taking a look at... Oh, helps if I hit the right key. We're taking a look at Chicago O'Hare in all its glory. We don't have any whacked out lines going all over the place up into the sky, and it looks beautiful. And this is a huge contrast to what I was flying earlier today, which was X-Plane. I was working on a cinematic video. So yeah, over on YouTube, not only do I have all the classic sims, but I do have a variety of sims where I will narrate I have full flights in which I don't narrate, don't talk. They are cinematics because I know people like that. And those cinematics will have little music segments here and there throughout. And then I have something called light flights, which are basically a full flight, but it's think of it as abridged. It's an abridged version of the flight. So it'll feature like the takeoff, the landing, and some important stuff in between. Because, you know, not everyone wants to watch a 3 or 4 hour flight. So I got a little bit of everything over on my channel. A little bit of everything. And then there's the World Tour itself, where all the simulators are flying the same exact flight plan, somewhat. Giving everyone a chance to actually compare each of those legs of the tour, of the flights, to see just how they look. And I gotta tell you, I am really looking forward to Flight Sim 2020 and doing the same exact flight plan with it that I've been doing here. I mean, doing it in X-Plane was really cool because I'm using the ortho photos, and so it looks almost how it's supposed to look. I say almost because the autogen is not perfect. For you X-Plane flyers out there, you'll know that the autogen tends to go in places like it shouldn't. So like there might be trees sporadically placed in like the desert or something, or trees or houses where there should be like a commercial building, like a mall or something. All of which I think is going to be fixed with Flight Simulator 2020. From what I can see, it looks like the buildings are exactly where they're supposed to be. Okay, so we don't have a DME at all. Hey, JR Coyotes. Sorry I didn't see your message there, but yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. And then we got Mr. Jingles 20 joining us. Says, I learned how to VOR/ADS. Do you mean ADF? I think you meant ADF, because isn't F and S, well, they're not exactly close, but how it worked from this very program. Got my ASEL ticket in 1989. We're flying at a airspeed of 60. That can't be good. We probably should. We're still going up. What is up with that? Here, let me adjust the trim here. Let's get our airspeed up here. Yeah, so the Commodore 64 was my very first flight simulator. So a lot of what I learned was from that. So like VOR flying and ADF and ILS, all that stuff that I learned there. And man, I keep going up. I don't want to go up. The interesting thing is that with this old sim, you are mainly flying IFR. I mean, look at where look at what we're doing right now. We're flying to DuPage VOR, not DuPage Airport. That don't exist in Flight Simulator 1. But we're flying to the DuPage VOR. If we didn't have our instruments, could you tell how high we are? I know I wouldn't be able to. Maybe we're actually going faster than 60 knots. It's hard to tell because the gauges aren't exactly... Okay, there we go. See, I'm adjusting the trim. Oh, I know why the trim's not working, because I don't have reality mode on. That explains why that's not doing anything. I usually fly with reality mode on. And I actually turned it off for this. Flaps! No, the flaps are up. If you look in between the OBS and the compass, you'll see the flaps there. It's an F. Now my elevator was up, and I was messing with the trim, thinking that it was going to automatically go down, but I forgot that my settings in the simulator were not on reality mode, so that the trim doesn't actually do anything. And I usually turn that on. I just didn't turn it on for Flight Simulator 1. So I'm trying to get us leveled out here. Yeah, there's no autopilot. No autopilot. Yeah, right? Pretty tough to fly VFR when there's no V. Yeah, there is definitely no V. And you want to know what gets even... Yeah, try flying this at night. You don't even see a blue sky or a green landscape. All you see is black. In case you're wondering, the trim, if you were able to find that F where the flaps are at, the trim is right below that. It's got a U and a D. And you can see the two white dots there. The one on top is the center. Oh, now I got hiccups. And then the second one is where the current flap setting is at. And then below the D, to the left of the transponder, which doesn't do anything, and the clock, is the throttle. Okay, so I think we're just about, not level, but we're getting close there. That doesn't sound good. I think maybe we were going too fast. That sounded kind of freaky. Did you hear that? I was looking at the airspeed. We were going from 140 to 160. Ooh, I guess it doesn't like that. Yeah, we were exceeding something. Man, why are we going? We're still going up. I'm trying to level us out here, and we're just like... We just keep going up here. Here, let me drop the throttle a little bit. That might help. Well, at least we're high enough in altitude that if we start going down gradually, it's okay. I tell you, when you get used to flying this old simulator, when you get to flying like X-Plane or P3D, flying feels a lot easier. Come on there, vertical indicator. Start to level. Yeah, there it is. Delayed reaction. So here's a little bit of difference between Flight Simulator 1 and Flight Simulator 2. Look under the OBS and you'll notice there's an RPM gauge. They got rid of that in Flight Simulator 2. So that's where they added the second OBS. So this has only got one nav radio. There's no DME. And we're headed to Joliet. So how do we know we reached Joliet? Well, I guess when the when the 2 marker turns to from, and then we can tune in our next next location. So did I say Joliet or DuPage? We're going to DuPage. So here is the original map for those of you joining. Let that kind of focus. Focus. Focus, focus, focus. Or maybe not. Alright, so that blob is Chicago Air. And we're going here to, there it goes, DuPage. So you'll notice that there is no airport there. There's only 5 airports in the Chicago area for Flight Simulator 1. And then we're going to Joliet. And then we're going to Chicago Heights. And then we'll land at Chicago Midway. So we're doing like this little VOR to VOR tour here. And that's because over on YouTube with the World Tour series that I had for Flight Simulator 2, 3, and on, we went from Meigs to Chicago O'Hare to the DuPage Airport. We then went to Aurora. And then Aurora to Clow International. And then over to Lansing, which is where Chicago Heights is at. And then we went to Chicago Midway. And then we did a touch and go at Meigs. And then we went to Joliet. But we're using the Joliet, so we'll be flying back to Joliet again. But we're using the Joliet. Oh, hey, look. We must have just reached DuPage because the VOR is now changed to from. Okay, so Joliet is 112.3. Hit the N key, plus minus. Man, I have bad memory. One. It's on the crease there. I can't read it. 112.3. My goodness, come on. Did I get it right? 112.3. Ooh. We may not be close enough to pick that up. Oh, there it goes. Okay. It's because of the direction that we had the before. Okay. Back. All right, heading 168 is what we want. Darren Vox, hey, good to see you. Check this out. It's Flight Simulator 1. And this will look a heck of a lot better, and I'm going off course, than the 2 videos that I have on the YouTube channel, because the lines are not going all over the place. The only way I could get Flight Simulator 1 to work before was with PC Emulator, and it did not look good at all. This is using PCE. So it is also a PC emulator, but it's very limited on what it can do. And this is emulating a 5150 IBM PCXT. And it gets the graphics exactly the way they're supposed to look. Hey, no problem, Darren. No problem at all. That's why I started recording these episodes as I'm streaming. It allows me to get the footage that I need for the episodes that I want to put together. But it also gives everyone a chance to join in on the fun and interact and get to chat about good times. Yeah, I know we've seen lots of upgrades to this sim. I mean, a lot of amazing upgrades. Let's just talk from Flight Simulator 1 to Flight Simulator 2. You got more airports, for example. So you only had like 5 airports in the Chicago area. For the New York area, there were 5 airports. I think the Seattle area only had 5 airports. And then the Los Angeles area, I think, might have had 6. I have the map over here. Also, too, you'll notice the dash is black there, so it doesn't have a color. Yet in Flight Simulator 2, that's a solid color. And then there's the navs. This only has 1 nav radio. Flight Simulator 2 had 2 nav radios. I don't know if the ILS works on this or not, because the maps don't have the ILS frequency. So they might work, they may not work. On the Flight Simulator 2 maps, they had the ILS right next to the airport coordinates, but not on here. Not on those maps. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, that's the whole thing about KILR Television over on YouTube, and then just me as KILR Gamer here on Twitch, is just about having fun. You know, getting away from all the politics and all that garbage that you see that's out there. You know, I mean, all that stuff gets old, and who wants that? You know, I mean, we kind of want to get away from reality and, you know, just kind of chill out and relax, especially if you're, you know, you've been working all day. You know, the last thing that you want to hear is more garbage, you know. And then there's all that stuff that's on TV and movies, and some of it's okay, and then some of it is just kind of bleh. Okay, so I mentioned that I was going to read. Did you didn't think we were going to have story time, did you? Well, I'll also be interacting and answering questions too. But as you can see, there's not much to see except for blue sky and lots of grass. Or maybe those are trees. So here is the original manual Microsoft Flight Simulator. Looks just like the picture down below. It's just like the box. And I have yet to find an intact copy of Flight Simulator 1 with a intact box. The fact that I got this manual was pure luck. This guy was selling a whole bunch of maps and stuff, and it just happened to have the Flight Simulator 1 book and the maps. So yeah, I lucked out on that. So copyright Microsoft Corporation 1982. Comments about this documentation may be sent to the Microsoft Corporation, Microsoft Building, 10700 Northup Way, Bellevue, Washington 98004. Do you think we should make some comments about the documentation in here? Maybe say that it's a little out of date and send it over to that address? You think someone would get a kick out of that? Okay, let's go to the introduction. This should be entertaining. Microsoft Flight Simulator is a second-generation real-time flight simulation program for microcomputers. Now, it says Flight Simulator 1, but the very first one is the one that was for the Apple, and I think the TRS-80 had like a black screen with like white, really thick, jagged lines, and it looks very scary to try to fly. Yeah, so Darren's saying, I can't stand these early ones. There's nothing worth looking at but green and black. Well, in this case, it's green and blue and black. And then looking at Flight Simulator 95, there's not much to see, but there's some mountains, some pyramids and stuff, yeah. So the simulation considers 35 important aircraft characteristics and includes an out-the-window three-dimensional dynamic flight display, extensive flight controls, and minimum visual flight rule. Yeah, minimum. You're not joking. I'd say that's minimum VFR. And instrument flight rule, IFR, instrumentation as specified by the FAA. So yeah, there may not be very much to look at, but we get to practice our IFR skills. And we don't have a DME on this, so no idea when we actually get to... Oh, I got my maps all over the place. To when we get to Joliet, until the VOR switches and goes to from. So this is a great way to get some skills, that's for sure. Unlike first-generation simulators, Microsoft Flight Simulator features detailed graphics that closely simulate a pilot's actual perspective. Flight instruments look and behave like the real thing. It's just funny just reading this. It was like, what is it, 1982, and we're, what, 2020, so it was like 18 years ago? Is that about right? Oh yeah, Darren, it's definitely a lot of green stuff. And it's not a very pretty green at that. Now the green for Flight Simulator 3 at least has a kind of like a deep forest green to it. But then with Flight Simulator 3, it's got that texture. Well, it's not really texture, but for those of you who have flown Flight Simulator 3 or 4, you know that you can add a little texture thing that adds like dots or like these rectangles, and it adds a little something to the ground, so that way it doesn't look, you know, flat like this. False advertise. Oh, gamer_12 is saying false advertising in regards to what we're reading on the manual here. Yeah, that's too funny. The world is more than 10,000 by 10,000 miles square, with a resolution of approximately 2.5 inches. Yeah, try flying that with no VORs. The world encompasses the entire continental United States and extends into Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. The populated, quote, world consists of 4 areas and includes more than 20 airports. It's basically 21. There's 5 in Chicago, 5 in Seattle, 5 in New York, and 6 the Los Angeles area. So why didn't they just say 21? I don't know. They want to make you... there you go, false... well, okay, it's not quite false advertising. It's kind of stretching the truth a little. Anyway. Winds, clouds... Y'all remember that clouds in here is just basically a gray overcast, right? That's clouds. Time of day for dawn, day, dusk, and night flight, and navigation aids are also included. The added features make the aircraft more difficult to fly than first-generation simulators. Not only is it more difficult to fly than first-generation simulators, I think it's more difficult to fly in today's simulators. I think today's simulators are a little bit more easier to fly. I was flying X-Plane earlier today because I was working on a cinematic video that I am hoping to get out next week on my channel. Tuesdays is Tuesday Theatrics on my YouTube channel, KILR Television, which is why I don't stream on Tuesday. And I've already got a P3D series that comes out once a month on Tuesday, and I am working on getting an X-Plane cinematic series that will play once every month on a Tuesday, and I've got some other theatrical series that I'm working on. Yeah, Darren is saying he's used to the rectangles. Yeah, I can. Oh my goodness, the VOR says from. Hold on. We passed our VOR. Okay, so we got to Joliet. We need to go to Chicago Heights now. Let's see if we can tune that. Here, let's turn first. Ooh, there's an airport out there. There's something out there. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's Kankakee. No, Julius, now's not the time to interrupt me. It's my orange cat. Hi. Hi. Should I pick you up and show you to all the people around the world? Where did you go? I guess he said no. Alright, Chicago Heights is 114.2. 114.2. Oh, let's see. Let's try moving that VOR there. There we go. There we go. All right. Heading 084. Whoops, that's a little too much. There we go. Should be all right there. Darren is saying that he took off from Megs years ago on FS95 and didn't know what airports were close by and landed on some squares. I've done that before. I'm sure there were houses, but all there was brown, black, gray, and white rectangles. Well, there wasn't really there really wasn't houses in Flight Simulator 95 unless you were downloading custom content, because some of the custom content you could have like little houses and stuff. Okay, so we know that the world encompasses the entire continental United States and extends into Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. Yeah, try flying that in Flight Simulator 1 and trying to figure out where you're going. Let's see, we talked about the added features. Okay, so the added features make the aircraft more difficult to fly than first generation simulators. Oh, that was weird. Hopefully I still got control there. So as a convenience to new pilots, 2 distinct flight modes are provided. If you have never flown before, you can use Easy Flight Mode to learn the fundamentals of flight control. In Easy Flight Mode, you fly in optimal conditions and use only the primary flight instruments and controls. When you have mastered the basics of flight, or if you are already a seasoned pilot, you can select Reality Flight Mode. Reality Flight Mode simulates more sophisticated flight factors. In either mode, you can add environmental conditions such as wind, time of day, and turbulence. You can also set a reliability factor that determines the frequency with which flight problems arise. All you need to do is set it to 99%, and you'll have enough problems. We discovered that on my Flight Simulator 2 video. It was using scenery disc number 9 from Dubuque to La Crosse. Yeah, I had it set to 99 and like 2 things broke. And one of them was like the fuel. So like the fuel was all leaking out and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's enough of that. Let's see. In either mode, you can add environmental... Okay, we just read that. You can even set up test situations. Oh, okay. So Darren is saying that the rectangles must have been houses or buildings. I'm not sure if they were or not. It's kind of interesting because with Flight Simulator 95, there seems to be a lot of plaid looking graphics. Let's see. And for those who are wondering, I do have Flight Simulator 95 videos over on YouTube, and I actually did some streaming on some ones here too. Let's see. Microsoft Flight Simulator is modeled after the performance characteristics of an aircraft of the Cessna 182 class, single engine, land with substantial performance. Now, for those of you who might be familiar with the Commodore 64, that one's not a Cessna. That's actually a Piper, which I never knew until like a year ago. It is an ideal plane for pilot training because it has climb performance and speed that keep a pilot busy, especially on landing approach, which is exactly what the Flight Simulator 2 Commodore 64 one says. The plane is slightly superior to an advanced World War I fighter. Microsoft Flight Simulator can provide hours of rewarding entertainment. You guys think we would have hours of rewarding entertainment with this? Just think about it. You could fly for 4 or 5 hours in Flight Simulator 1 and be completely entertained. I think that's false advertising. Right, Gamer 12? Before Flight Simulator 10, there was a version that had a barn and a small area to fly around. Flew this in 1982 or 83 on a neighbor's computer. It was mind-blowing at the time. I wonder which one that was. That had a barn and a small farm. Oh, 1.0. I'm sorry. Let's see. Microsoft Flight Simulator will help you learn about flight. It is not, however, a substitute for a flight training course. Nah, you think? If you want more information on learning to fly, we recommend that you read the Flight Training Handbook published by the Federal Aviation Administration, or check with your local airport for information about certified flight training courses. Alright, we're still on course here. About this manual, because Microsoft Flight Simulator is a program that will be enjoyed by novices and seasoned pilots alike, I don't know if seasoned pilots, maybe back when this came out. I mean, this was amazing stuff when it first came out, let's be honest. And there was nothing like this. This manual begins with an introduction to flight procedures, operations, and control. If you are new to flying, we recommend that you work through the manual. If you are an experienced pilot, you may want to learn how to operate the instruments and controls and then proceed directly to the section entitled The Editor. On page 45, you can use the editor to set environmental and flight conditions. You can also use the editor to shift from one of the 4 Microsoft Flight Simulator geographic areas to another. After you are familiar with the editor, proceed to advanced flight techniques on page 71. This manual explains how to use Microsoft Flight Simulator and covers some basic flight technique. My eye is burning. Flight instruction is beyond the scope of this manual. If you would like further information on flying, we recommend you read any of the following, available at FBOs, Fixed Base Operators, or flight training schools at most airports. So, here are some things that you might want to read for the novice pilot. Flight Training Handbook from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration. Aviation Fundamentals, 6th edition, Jeppesen Sanderson Incorporated. I'm sure the 6th edition would apply to today, maybe. Instrument Flying Handbook, U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration. Other publications, Airman's Information Manual, Chicago Sectional Aeronautical Chart, Los Angeles, New York, Seattle. I don't know why you would want to get well, that's for more information. Any of these publications can also be ordered directly from Sporty's Pilot Shop, Claremont County Airport, Batavia, Ohio. I actually looked it up. Sporty's is still there. About the designer. All hail the designer. MS Flight Simulator was written by Bruce A. Artwick. Hail Bruce A. Artwick. Without him, I don't think we would have what we have today. Okay, well, okay, there is X-Plane, so there is that. But competition, too. Competition was a big thing. President of SubLogic Company, Champaign, Illinois, a hardware and software firm specializing in high-performance graphic systems. Mr. Artwick gained extensive experience in high-performance signal processor architecture design and microcomputer-based radar control systems at Hughes Aircraft Company. In addition, he has performed research in mini-computer and microcomputer-based graphics systems design at the Aviation Research Laboratory and Digital Computer Laboratories, University of Illinois, where he received a BS and MS, Bachelor of Science and Master's in Science in Electrical Engineering. Okay, here's the part you've all been waiting for. System requirements. To use the Microsoft Flight Simulator program, you must have an IBM personal computer with at least 64K bytes of memory, a monitor attached to the IBM Color Graphics Monitor adapter, and at least one disk drive. I don't know what you would do with two. Although Microsoft Flight Simulator will work with any monitor type, a color composite monitor will yield the best results, which is what you're seeing here. This is emulating a color composite monitor. That's how we have color. You may see several Flight Simulator 1 videos over on YouTube or other channels where the lines and the scenery seem to be all over the place. But also it's gray, or it's in monochrome green or something. If you use an RGB monitor, you will get black and white or shaded tones only. The IBM personal computer has limited color generation abilities in 640 horizontal resolution mode, which is used to display the simulator's instrument panel. When you load MS Flight Simulator, the program will ask what kind of monitor you have and will make the best use of that monitor. The entire MS Flight Simulator program is contained on the disk you received in this package. I don't have the disk. You will need an additional disk to create a backup of your disk, and a third disk for saving simulation data. Wow, back in the days where they actually recommended that you make a backup of your program. Whereas these days, they got crappy copy protection stuff on there that causes more problems than it does solve. How to load MS Flight Simulator. To load MS Flight Simulator, follow this procedure. This is how you load it. Open the door of disk drive A. Remove the MS Flight Simulator disk from its protective jacket. That's important. Don't put the whole thing in there. Holding the labeled end of the disk, insert into the drive with the label facing up. When the disk is in as far as it will go, don't force it. Close the disk drive door. If your IBM personal computer is off, turn on the system. It doesn't work when it's off? Really? Turn on the system unit switch and monitor. If the computer is already on, press the delete key while holding the control and alt keys. Oh, that is a very similar keystroke there. The disk will whir from 5 seconds to several minutes. The light on your disk drive will come on, and a few seconds later, the following will appear on your system. Microsoft Flight Simulator, copyright by Bruce A. Artwick, 1982, produced by Microsoft Corporation. Some of you may have actually saw that a little earlier because I had to restart the PCE emulator. And for those joining, it's PCE, not PCEM. The PCEM, I actually did a couple of flights that I recorded over on my YouTube channel, and it looks like other videos that you may have seen where it's got lines and colors and stuff just all over the place. It looks absolutely horrible. On PCE, on the other hand, it plays exactly the way it's supposed to play. Yeah. Gamer says it's almost like they decided to give you free lessons on how to use an IBM PC. Yeah, that's true. The IBMs back then, they costed a whopping amount of money. So a few seconds later, the adjustment screens for MS Flight Simulator will appear. The first adjustment screen, you will ask, what display are you using? Color TV or color composite monitor? That's the one that we chose to get this. So remember, if you're wanting to play Flight Simulator 1 or Flight Simulator 2, you want to choose color composite monitor. And be sure the emulator itself is set so it displays color composite and not RGB. You also have black and white TV or monitor, and then an RGB monitor. Do they still make black and white TVs? I remember when they did, and then I remember when they came out with the pocket TVs, that those were black and white, or the ones that you could take like with you on a camping trip. Those were black and white. The second adjustment screen will ask, select operating mode: A, demo mode; B, regular flight mode; C, disk backup. I didn't see disk backup when I started it. I only saw A and B. Choosing option A begins a demonstration in which the plane flies itself. The plane flies itself. Choosing option B begins a program in easy flight mode. If this is the first time you are using MS Flight Simulator, that might be why. I don't know. Select option C to make a backup copy of the program. Proceed to the next section. How to back up your MS Flight Simulator disk. This is where you need 2 disk drives. If you have selected either the demo mode or flight mode options, the instrument panel will flash onto the screen. Use the tab left right key. I don't know what that is. To center the display on your screen. You can use this key at any time during flight to move the display to the right. When it has gone as far right as it can go, it will shift full left. If you choose option A, relax and enjoy the show. Or you can watch my channel and enjoy the show. Okay, so we just hit the other VOR because it says from. Now let me finish what we're reading here. To end the demonstration, press escape. This will put you in the editor where you can select regular flight mode. To do so, press the enter key to move the arrow to the user mode parameter and enter 0. If you choose option B, proceed to the instructional part of the manual. Note, if this is the first time you're using MS Flight Simulator program, make a backup copy of your disk before you proceed. Alright, it's time to go to Chicago Midway. Now this is going to be a little interesting. There's not a VOR there. So for Chicago Heights, we're going to want to go at a vector of it's so small. 330. So let's do that. 330. There we go. Lake Michigan. That is the cleanest blue water I have ever seen. And Chicago is right up ahead. Oh no, no. We're getting some bad sounds. That's not a good sound. Whoa, what happened here? Oh, that's right. We want to go from. Okay, so let's give the VOR a chance to reset itself. So Gamer12 says, but the vehicle for those early days of television, the black and white set, has almost disappeared, except for miniature models, and black and white TVs have faded from view, their sales shrinking as fast as the size of their screens. September 6, 1992. And then he's asking, when did they stop making black and white TVs? I don't know. I'm just assuming they stopped because I never seem to see any. Sears sold its last black and white sets. Oh, that was a rhetorical question. Sorry. They sold its last black and white sets in 1990. Wow. All the way back then. According to a 1992 story in the LA Times, most major retailers had totally bailed on black and white in the early 90s. Sears offered its last non-color set in 1990. a $79 doorbuster deal to get people in stores on December 14th, 2060. And B. Crockett was saying, was that turbulence, that weird sound that we were getting earlier? It could be, or it could be stress on the airplane. So we've noticed that if we go too fast, it starts making a scary sound. Okay, now I don't know if you see it or not, but there's a little bit of white there in the center. That has got to be Midway Airport. And we are 4,000 feet up, so I think it might be a good idea for us to make our descent. Oh, stop with that sound. Jeez, that sounds horrible. Let's drop a thing of flaps here. And we will start going down here. Looking at this scenery, it's hard to believe we're 4,000 feet up, isn't it? So, like I was saying, IFR flying, rely on your instruments. No, Gamer12 is asking, can you look up wind info on this version? No. But you can enter wind information. So no, actually, to answer the question, there is not turbulence because we didn't set it. So it must be aircraft stress is what it must be. Or it's just the simulator itself just making that sound. It is the first version, so maybe it's just a weird sound. Alright, landing gear down, that's going to be the G key. And if you look at the full right side of the screen there, you'll see gear and then DN for down. Gamer12 is asking if they used raw files for sound. You're being sarcastic, right? But still, it's a good question. Back then they had what was called a PC speaker. And so you'd be getting this sound out of this tiny little PC speaker type of thing. Is it me, or is our airspeed really slow? That's weird that it's doing that. So we can see the airport. We have no idea if we're lined up with any runways. Ah, but there's a way to find out. Maybe. Hold on. Let's get ourselves leveled out here. Why are we going so slow? Alright, hold on. Let's bring our throttle up here. Let's power up. Let's keep ourselves somewhere between 2,000 and 1,500 feet. Alright, meanwhile, let's pull up the map here. Okay, you can barely see it, but you can see the airport, and it's cross-shaped, and I would say that we're in the general area as far as landing on the airport. Now, it's that white, that tiny little white cross, not the gray stuff. Those are just roads. Now, if we zoom out here, never mind. I thought if we zoomed out, we would see the, like Mexico and Canada and stuff, but no, never mind. We're not going to see that. So with the different flights that we're going to be doing, we're going to have plenty of time to read the original Microsoft Flight Simulator manual. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see the type of stuff that it has. Come on, let's level out here. Yes, Gamer12 is saying in regards to the speaker, the PC speaker, it's used for diagnostic tests, which I have on my i7 computer, which I'm still working with. So I have a PC speaker hooked up to that, so that way I can hear the little beep sound. So that way you know that you got a you know, some type of reaction coming out of your computer. I definitely if you build your own PC, I definitely recommend getting a PC speaker. They're really cheap, about this small. You just plug it into the little motherboard, and it's nice to have. You never know when you're going to need that speaker until you need it. So I highly recommend getting one of them. Alright, let's use power to control our our rate of descent. The last thing we want to do is stall here. Okay, so we see a black stick over there to the right. What is that? Is that the Sears Tower? I always get that one confused with one of the other buildings in Chicago. If that's a Sears Tower or if that's something else. I'm sure one of my viewers here will set me straight. That's why I love my viewers. I love my viewers because they set me straight. I still have no idea where the runways are at. Well, it looks like we're lined up with one of them. You can see like this little white knob coming from the bottom of it. I can sort of see it. If you look at the white line there, you'll see like a second tiny little white line right below it. And so that's going to be the runway right there. Let's take a quick look at the map, find out what the altitude is at Chicago Midway, so that way we know when we're about ready to hit the ground. Hopefully land, not hit. 619. Ooh, I'm seeing it a little bit, but I think I'm off to the side here. Oh, you know, another interesting thing with Chicago Midway, as a matter of fact, is that this has only two runways that are like what two runway 32s. You know how the direction we're going here, they've got a right and a left and a center. This one doesn't. And so I'm thinking back in 1982, they didn't have a left, right, and center. It was just left and right. As a matter of fact, I believe what's considered the left runway on this is actually the center runway today. I think they added a teeny tiny little runway. I'm not sure when that was, but now we got a white glob in front of us. Oh, this should be fun, trying to figure out what's the runway. All right, let's begin our descent here. Well, not begin, but let's continue. Aha! Okay. I can see the runway. It's a little thin line. Come on down. Come on down. Looks like we're going to be landing on... Okay, I think it's 31. Runway 31. So it looks like we're going to be on 31 left. Which today I believe is 31 center. Yep, there it is. Okay. Start powering down here. Drop one more thing of flaps here. We're almost down, folks. Almost down. No, 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 no. Ah! I was afraid that was going to happen. Yeah, this can be difficult to try to land sometimes. Yeah, I know. The approach did look fine. It's just, oh man. I knew the airspeed was getting a little low, but I started adding power, and then it just decided to stall and crash. But, you know, let that be kind of a thing to learn, because when this thing stalls, it's not forgiving at all. I mean, you can stall in the modern simulators, and you still have a little bit of play. No, not in this one. You don't. Also, well, at least you know what it looks like when you crash. And if you're not following me, be sure to follow. That way you get a notification of when I'm back online. Also, there's my YouTube channel, so head on over there, see what I got. I got tons of flight simulator videos. I got other stuff too, not just flight sim. I do have other simulation videos as well, such as truck simulator and car mechanic and the Sims. So go check those out, subscribe over there. And that's pretty much it. Let's just take a look at some other, yeah, B. Crockett is saying thank you, and I thank you as well. I appreciate it. All of you guys are awesome, killer, and everything like that. So thanks again for joining me on this historic occasion of Flight Simulator 1 on Twitch. I'm guessing no one else has done it. Maybe someone has. Twitch has been out for a while, so but anyway, thanks a lot again for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you again real soon.